What does the rebound give your ex that you probably couldn't? Comfort, and not in the way that you think. If you were showing up in your relationship in a healthy, communicative way, you were creating space for growth, you were showing up with vulnerability, you were holding space for them to show up as a healthy individual, and you were trying to build a stable foundation for the relationship to go deeper, to go further, and your ex abruptly pulled the pin and ejected themselves from the situation and then quickly jumped into a rebound relationship, what was likely happening? One, your relationship was likely requiring them to show up in a way that exceeded their emotional maturity, their emotional depth, and their willingness to sit in discomfort, reflect, and actually grow. Two, you may have actually been trying to enforce some boundaries and calling out some of their unhealthy, potentially emotionally immature behaviors, and they didn't like that. Three, they were likely starting to realize that the level of emotional depth that you require, they weren't capable or willing to meet you there. So what likely happens is their insecurities get triggered, it overwhelms them, they head into a dysregulated state and they eject themselves from the situation. And oftentimes, because of the void that is created with you no longer being there, making up and doing the emotional heavy lifting for both of you, they will often jump into a rebound relationship. And many of these rebound relationships can actually last quite a long time. And what is happening is, like I said, the new rebound is giving them comfort. So this comfort can come from the relationship may not have or require the emotional depth that you required. There may be physical distance between the two, so it's easier to skirt around and enter into pseudo vulnerability without actually having to be really vulnerable and show up in a healthy, loving way. Either way, it doesn't really matter what this rebound has that you don't. At the end of the day, what you need and what you required, your ex wasn't able to meet that. And even though it may hurt like hell with how they abruptly end the relationship, they've actually done you a favor. You are no longer having to shrink yourself and try and fit into this box that requires less emotional depth, less accountability, less emotional maturity than you are needing to feel healthy, emotionally safe and fulfilled in a relationship. So just remember, any relationship that requires you to shrink to fit into that dynamic is not for you. So if the rebound is happy to shrink to fit, or they have the same emotional depth that your ex does, then they're a perfect match. At the end of the day, it's not your problem. You have better things coming.